Good morning. We are here and we are together, and that is all the more reason to be joyful today. So let's join in and sing together to the very one that created this moment here today.
This is the day you made, so I will rejoice and be glad, rejoice and be glad in it. This is where I believe that you are more than enough for me. You are faithful to your promise. You are strong when I am weak. When I'm standing in your presence, I have everything I need. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Oh, my soul, bless His name. All that is within me say, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Jesus, come what may, you are worthy of all my praise. You are faithful to your promise. You are strong when I am weak. When I'm standing in your presence, I have everything I need. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Oh, my soul, bless His name. All that is within me say, the joy of the Lord is my strength. So let it rise up like a river, overflowing. Holy Spirit, let it pour out with no limit. Overflowing, Holy Spirit. So let it rise up like a river, overflowing, Holy Spirit, and let it pour out with no limit. Overflowing, Holy Spirit. Let's put our hands together. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Oh, my soul, bless His name. All that is within me say, oh, my soul, bless His name. All that is within me say, oh, my soul, bless His name. All that is within me say, the joy of the Lord is my strength.
We're so happy to have you here with us this morning. would you just turn and say and ask somebody next to you, what's something that's brought you joy this week?
Go ahead and grab a seat. For those of you I haven't met, my name's Trevor. I serve as the campus pastor here at SMCC Lehigh. I just want to say thanks so much for joining us this Sunday. And if you have any questions kind of about who we are as a church, what we believe, even just what are the different opportunities that we have going on, there's a really helpful tool to kind of answer all of those questions. In the back of the seat in front of you, you should be able to find a card that looks like what you see up on the screen. And if you grab one of those, check the boxes that you're interested in, fill out as much as you're comfortable with. If you drop that off in either the black box on the wall on the way out of this room or even the green table in the lobby, it just gives me the chance to follow up with you. I'd love to, take you out for a cup of coffee or lunch or even just connect over the phone. I'd love to hear your story and to just answer any questions you might have. So thanks for being with us. Just want you to know that opportunity, that invitation is there. Okay, with that, we got kind of several things coming up right now. We're in that season of the year where a lot of different things are launching. And so, like for example, this past week, our women's Bible study kicked off on Friday morning. We had our student ministry start up on Tuesday nights. And this week, we actually have midweek reset starting September 10th, Wednesday night. And midweek reset's kind of a bundle of a few different things. For kids ministry, for kids, basically birth all the way up through 5th grade, there's something for them Wednesday nights, 6:30 to 8. And then at the same time, there's also stuff for basically anyone who's above that age range. So if you've got kids that you're bringing on out to Wednesday night, there's also something for you that same night. So we've got 2 different SMCCU classes, one called The First 5. That's all about just the 5-book collection that opens the Bible and really lays the foundation for everything that comes after it. And then the other class is Making Sense of the Bible. And, I think one of the interesting things about the Bible is that it is, like, without a doubt, the most influential book in all of human history. For thousands of years, people have been turning to this book for direction, for guidance, for a sense of purpose, and even an understanding of how to approach this life and how to live this life well. And so many of the people who've turned to it have also had the conviction that this isn't just like a book or a collection of books, but that this is God's word to us. And yet, at the same time, I think it's easy to kind of pick it up and try and read it and be like, I don't know what this is or how to make sense of this. And so midweek reset, along with a lot of our other next steps, is really designed to help bridge that gap where we can develop the skills and the understanding to know how to open the Bible, how to, pick a piece of it, how to read it, how to understand it, how to basically glean from it the direction and the guidance that it has for us for our lives, so that we don't have to be dependent on other people to make sense of it. We ourselves can have the tools to be able to open it up and understand and apply it to our lives. And so Wednesday night, 6:30, right here, I would love to see you there. Even if you just want to learn more about it, feel free to grab one of those cards in the back of the seat, write midweek on it, and just drop that in the black box in the wall on your way out of this room. All right, last thing. Every week in our notes, we kind of have just an update on giving and where we're at financially as a campus. And I got to say, this is just an incredibly generous community, and that is something that I continue to be grateful for. Because if you look at it, there's actually even some numbers that have come in after, or the more finalized numbers for the month of August. Our goal was around $21,560, and what we received in giving was actually around $39,000. And so, just fantastic. And And for me, as a community that is in the valley and for the valley, trying to reach as many people as possible as we can for them to know the healing, to know the joy, to know the peace that comes in a relationship with Jesus, the more that we grow in generosity, the more that increases our ability to reach the people who are around us. And so I just want to say thank you so much for your generosity and for your faithfulness in all of that. So, and if that's something you want to join in and participate in, there's several ways to do so that are listed up on the screen. So, but with that, we're going to go ahead and just return now to a time of worship. And, we're going to sing a song. The band is going to lead us in a song. And there's this passage that I was just kind of sitting with recently that is Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 17 to 18, that says this, though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior. I think for me, this passage is such a powerful reminder that it can be so easy to approach worship as this thing that we do when we're feeling good, as this thing that we do kind of out of the overflow of good things that are happening within our lives. And that's all true and good and legitimate, but at the same time, this passage is a reminder that worship isn't something that we do just when things are going well, but worship has far more to do with just who God is, regardless of what's taken place within our lives. And so as we sing this song, just let it be an opportunity for us to declare that whether we're in a season of highs or whether we're in a season of lows or whether we're in a season that is some mix of both, that no matter what we're going through, God is still God. And for that reason, He is worthy of our attention. He's worthy of our praise. He is worthy of our worship. So let this song be an opportunity for us to declare that together.
Would you stand and sing with us?
I count on one thing, the same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. And yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy in all my days. Oh, yes, I will. Let's sing together. I count on one thing. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. He won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. And yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy in all my days. Oh, yes, I will for all my days. Oh, yes, I will, 'cause I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names that nothing can stand against. And I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names that nothing can stand against. 'Cause I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names that nothing can stand against. 'Cause I choose to praise,
no name that is sweeter, but is more powerful. Our God is just, but he is quick to show us mercy and kindness. He is humble, but he is holy. He is faithful. He is a friend. He is our Father, everlasting. The list goes on and on. He's called by so many names, but it's safe to say that no one is like our God. No one deserves all the honor and glory that we have to give.
Gathered at the highest throne, welcomed by a melody, an anthem I have always known, a song that's always been in me. All glory and honor, dominion and power to you. A million angels fall, face down on the floor, all to echo, holy is the Lord. My heart can't help but sing with all of heaven roar, forever echo, holy is the Lord. Forever echo, holy is the Lord. Memorize my every heart.
thank you that you are merciful and kind, that you are just, but God, you meet us where we are. You don't ask us to do more or be more or to give more. God, you just tell us to come as we are to you. God, we thank you that you are holy and everlasting. We love you. It's in your precious and holy name we pray. Amen. You can be seated.
Those of you I haven't met, my name's Trevor. Good to be with you all today. Today we're actually opening up a brand new series called At the Table that is all about this idea that significant things happen around tables. That in your life and in mine, I'm sure if we were to get together and connect over, maybe a light roast with some cream in it and maybe a beignet or something like that, or beignet. I shouldn't pick words to say that I don't know how to say. I got a bad habit of doing that. So if we had something nice to share, though, and we had a conversation about it, we'd have the opportunity to connect and basically talk about all of the significant things that happen in our lives in the context of being gathered around a table. And I think if you think about it, there are so many different significant things that happen when we're gathered around tables. For example, we can be known. We can be challenged. We can learn. We can laugh. We can cry. We can be warned. We can ask questions. We can pray. And of course, we can eat. We have the opportunity to do all of these different things around tables. And so today we're opening up this series, and there's really kind of a twofold purpose to it. On the one hand, it gives us all the opportunity to kind of take stock of what is the table of Jesus, the table that he invites us into, and the ways that he is at work within our lives, and even what it looks like to say yes to that and to see him at work within our lives. But part of the way that we're getting there is actually by inviting people up from within the community who have said yes to Jesus in one way or another to hear sort of the thread of faith throughout their lives and the ways that a relationship with Jesus has impacted them and transformed them in incredibly powerful ways. And so in just a few minutes, I'm going to have the chance to invite someone up, and we'll get the chance to unpack her story together. But before that, what I want to do is spend a little bit of time just kind of setting the table by looking at some significant passages that we see from the New Testament where Jesus himself engages with people around the table. And so the first one really comes in Mark chapter 2, verses 15 to 17. This is what we see. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, Levi is one of the disciples actually named Matthew as well, who writes the Gospel of Matthew. So Jesus is at his house having dinner, and many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Okay, so there's actually a fair amount of drama unfolding within this passage. It's a little bit tricky to pick it up at first glance because it's coming from a different culture, different context than our own. But if we're to translate it into today's terms, I think maybe the best way to unpack this passage would be to just set the scene as a high school cafeteria, that's essentially where we're at. And so, as you know, as these scenes typically work, there are different groups who inhabit different tables, and they do not overlap. They do not intersect. There is no exchange between them, right? They are exclusive in nature. That's what the whole mess was with High School Musical, right? They weren't abiding by those rules. And so, what we see here is that there's really two different groups that are named within the passage, within the cafeteria. On the one hand, you have the people who are closest to God. You have the teachers of the law, the religious leaders, the Pharisees. These are the ones that everyone looks at and says, they are the ones who are closest to God. Even themselves, they understand themselves in that fashion. But then at the other table, on the other side of the cafeteria, you have the tax collectors, these people who are Jewish and yet have signed on with the Roman Empire essentially to enforce these oppressive taxes upon their own people, lining their pockets while they do. So not well-liked individuals. And then you've got sinners. And so on this hand, at this table, you have people who are considered by all, including themselves, to be the furthest from God. And they're at different tables within the same cafeteria. And basically, what's happening is Jesus shows up on campus to lunch this day, and he finishes making his way through the lunch line, probably with a platter full of mashed potatoes and turkey gravy, and hopefully a chocolate milk to make things a little bit better. And at this point, he turns away from the food line, and everyone is waiting to see, where is he going to go? Where is he going to sit? And the expectation of everyone is that he will sit over here with the people who are closest to God, because he's a rabbi, he's a teacher. And yet Jesus intentionally makes a beeline to the exact opposite side of the cafeteria, sitting with the group that no one expected him to sit with. And you can see that it upsets people, that breaking expectations, breaking norms in this way, that they were upset, they were unhappy, they were confused, they were disoriented. And they ask his disciples, why does he do that? Why is he sitting over there? And he explains, it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. In other words, what Jesus was saying is, I've come to meet the need of all, and I've come to meet the need of those who recognize that they actually have one. And in a way, by making that decision, by making that point, he was clarifying for everyone within that cafeteria that there is no spectrum in which some people are closer to God and some people are further away. All of us stand in need of a Savior. And Jesus is that one for all of us. And so we see that in one example of a way that Jesus engaged with others around the table. We see another example of that just a little bit later on, actually, within the same book, within the Gospel of Mark, in chapter 14, verses 3 to 6. It says, while he was in Bethany is a town about 2 miles outside of Jerusalem, the capital city of Israel in the first century. So about 2 miles outside of that town, basically a little suburb. Reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper. Here's where things get interesting. Typically, lepers were socially ostracized within the first century because their skin condition presented a danger to others, and the fact that it could be contagious. And so to dine in the house of a leper wasn't something that anyone ever actually did, and yet here Jesus is in the home of Simon. And then things continue from there. While he's there, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. Now, I'm guessing nard is not something that we talk about a whole lot. In the ancient world, in the arena of fragrance, it was one of the most expensive fragrances, and so incredibly valuable, which only adds to what actually happens with this perfume. It says the woman broke the jar and poured the perfume on Jesus' head, anointing him. And so this is an incredible display of devotion, an incredible display of generosity, that she would break this bottle of such worth, such value, and the odds are likely that this actually was her dowry. And so this represented, in a way, her hopes for marriage, her hopes for a family, and yet she chooses to instead offer this to Jesus in a sacrificial way, in a way that ascribed an incredible amount of worth and value to him, especially in light of what this sacrifice might mean for her future. And yet on the other side of doing that, she isn't honored, she isn't praised. Instead, she is ridiculed and criticized. Verse 4, it says, some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, meaning they're upset. Why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for more than a year's wages and the money given to the poor. And they rebuked her harshly. And yet Jesus says, leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. And as the conversation continues, he goes on to unpack how what she has done has actually anointed him in preparation for his sacrifice, because this happens within just a handful of days of his death on the cross. And so Jesus honors her and treats her with respect and with dignity, and even speaks to those who are gathered there together in a way that reinforces the dignity and the worth that marks her as an individual, and even the honor that accompanies her sacrifice. And so we see, within even just a couple of different examples, the way that Jesus engaged around the table, it impacted people in significant ways. You could put it like this: when a person had a meal with Jesus, they were never the same. That interaction, the exchange that occurred, it changed them in significant and meaningful ways. So I want to just walk through a couple of more examples together. The next one coming in John chapter 21. And the setting here is that this is on the far side of Jesus' death and resurrection. And he's actually meeting the disciples in the northern part of Israel in the Sea of Galilee. They're out fishing. They've been fishing all night. And basically, when they come in, he's waiting for them on the shores with the fire cooking, ready to prepare some fish for breakfast, which I don't know about you. I've never had fish for breakfast. It sounds more like a Friday night thing to me, but anyways, that's what they did in the first century. So, but here, what's important to understand is the emotional context that the disciples are coming into this conversation with, because they're excited that Jesus is back alive. They're obviously overjoyed at this, but what they're carrying with them is the shame for the way that they responded when he was arrested, and everything that followed after that, because they were with him in that moment, and yet every single one of them chose to flee, chose to run, chose essentially to save themselves. And then in the aftermath of that, he was condemned, he was tortured, he was beaten, he was hung on a cross, and he was killed. And they abandoned him in the midst of all of that. In his moment of greatest need, they left him. And they've been the ones that he's been pouring into day in and day out for years. And so for every one of them, they feel like a failure. They feel like a waste. They feel like they've fallen short. They feel like they've messed up in a way that you can't come back from. And yet Jesus takes this opportunity to engage with them in that place. And this is what happens. John chapter 21, picking it up at verse 10. He says, "Bring some of the fish you've just caught." So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153, which I'm pretty sure is over limit. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. And Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, which, if you think about it, is the very same thing that he did with them the night of his arrest, the night of his betrayal. The final meal that they had together involved him breaking bread on their behalf, which was representative of his body. And yet now on the other side, he's doing the very same thing. And so he took the bread and gave it to them and did the same with the fish. And this was now the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. And as the conversation continues on the beach, he has this exchange with Peter, the one who actually denied even knowing him several times while Jesus is on trial. And in that conversation, he meets Peter with love. He meets him with grace. He meets him with truth and with challenge. But in the midst of all of that, he restores Peter to a position of leadership in a way that brings about profound healing inside of him. And then Peter goes on to be one of the most significant leaders within the early church. And so you see that this kind of exchange with Jesus is something that changes people. And then the last one I want to look at comes actually in the final book of the Bible, Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. Says this, "Here I am, I stand at the door and knock," which is Jesus speaking. "If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me." In other words, Jesus describes the reconciliation of our relationship with him in terms of a meal, in terms of getting together to actually just connect in the context of being gathered around the table and enjoying a meal together. And that at the end of the day is the very thing that we're made for. And so I think what's so interesting about these passages and even this theme is that there's a lot of things that Jesus does in the synagogue, in the community of faith throughout his teaching and ministry, but there is so much that he does in the context of just being gathered together with people around a table. And I think when we translate that into today's terms, as a community that is, wanting to reach as many people as possible, that is in this valley and for this valley, I think one of the interesting things to consider is that people might say no to your church, but they will likely say yes to your table. They might say no to coming out on a Sunday morning or joining us for a Wednesday night or whatever it might be. They might say no to that. But when the invitation is to come on over and enjoy some butter chicken and naan bread or some spaghetti and meatballs with some garlic bread on the side, or maybe even a nice weekend brunch with Eggs Benedict and some fresh cut berries, right? No one's going to say no to that. That is something that people will say yes to. And in that context, we have the opportunity to connect with them, to engage, to invest in the relationship in a meaningful way, to get to know other people and to allow ourselves to be known. I think so often it's over the context of a meal like that you could take 2 years worth of Sunday morning conversations in the lobby and you have a greater kind of acceleration of relational connection over one meal than what you get in comparison. Rosaria Butterfield puts it like this: hospitality in a post-Christian, isolated, lonely world is one of the most valuable gifts the church has to reach our society. We live in one of the most lonely contexts, one of the most lonely periods in history. And it's in the midst of that hospitality in a way shines forth as an incredibly meaningful and healing and transformative gift. And it's a gift to this community to have people who love hospitality. And so I think what I would say is, at SMCC, hundreds of people are setting the table for you to become a fully devoted and fully delighted follower of Jesus. That's true for every single one of us, myself included, that there are so many people who engage in so many different ways. But I think one of the most helpful ways to break this down is just actually by inviting someone up to have a conversation and to see the way that these dynamics have been at play within her own life and story. And so if you would, I want to just ask you if you would join me in welcoming to the stage Princess Iolani Tabernero Moreland. Would you welcome her to the stage now? And I worked hard on that pronunciation, so I'm sure it's probably still not there. But
No, you did good.
Yeah, thanks so much. So, Princess, thank you so much for being here and for your willingness to do this. One thing we actually did is we got a gift for you. Brandon told us that, Brandon, your husband, told us that you love candy. And so there's some candy in there. There's some nerds. Are you a nerds fan?
I do. I love nerds.
Nerds are so good. So
Thank you.
yeah. So you can enjoy that. You don't have to enjoy it now. You can enjoy it later.
Okay.
But how long have you? So you and Brandon, you've been part of SMCC Lehigh for, I feel like, as far as I can remember. But what's kind of how long have you been at SMCC?
Yes. So we've been at SMCC since October 2021.
Mm-hmm.
We started going to Draper first, and then we came here to Lehigh in March 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. March 22. So it's been several years now at this point.
Yes, several years.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so one of the things I found in, because you're like a social media consultant, a social media expert is what you do for a living.
Yes.
And so there is content that you guys have posted out online. And so I was doing a little bit of research for this, and one of the things I discovered is that your name is tied to a really significant historical person. Mm-hmm. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, so I was named after Princess Victoria Iolani, who was set to take the throne in Hawaii after Queen Liliuokalani, but she never did because of the overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom.
Yeah.
But she did play a significant part in gaining back voting rights and just rights in general for the Native Hawaiians during the overthrow and that period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she, at an incredibly young age, was a very significant leader. And her story, in a lot of ways, is tied up with just the history of Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's it like having a name that is tied to someone who was such a prominent leader?
Definitely, of course, being here in Utah, a lot of people don't know about Hawaiian history. So taking that and sharing that part of history to the people here is, I feel super important. Especially when it comes to the overthrow. Not a lot of people know about that. Growing up though, in high school and middle school, we learned Hawaiian history more than anything. So I always grew up around it. It was kind of a culture shock coming here and seeing how little people know that are in the mainland.
Yeah. So you probably grew up with people, everyone knew that your name was attached to this person.
Yes, but here everybody thinks I'm joking because I say my name is Princess, I don't say my full name. So oftentimes I get, okay, so what's your real name?
Yeah.
Or I get asked to see my ID. So
I just get called Travis. That's what I get called all the time, which is fine. It's a great name. It's a wonderful name. So you grew up in Hawaii.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit of what that was like, and even the thread of or the theme of faith? Was that kind of there from the get-go, or what role did that play in your growing up?
Yes. So I was born in the Philippines, but we immigrated to Hawaii when I was 1. We went to a church. It was pretty popular in the Philippines, and then kind of expanded into Hawaii and here in the United States as well. But we went there until I was 6 or 7, mainly by force. My grandma and my mom made us go, like, so we had no choice. And then we just kind of stopped going. But even after that, my mom didn't really talk about religion growing up. The most that she'd do is at night, even to this day, she'll be like, brush your teeth, say your prayers, good night.
Yeah.
My husband, though, he grew up going to church. And when we had started dating, he never pressured me to come, but I would go on Easter and Christmas because, that's what you do. And then when we moved here, though, that's when, like, my faith really grew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so we've had some conversations about this, that one of the sort of significant catalysts for your faith to grow was an unfortunate thing, right? That even your coming to SMCC was in some ways connected to the passing of your father.
Yes.
Could you share a little about that?
Yeah, so ironically, the first time that we came to SMCC, our friends invited us, and nobody had known besides, Brandon and of course my sister, but my dad was in the hospital basically on his deathbed. He didn't tell anybody for like 2 weeks, so we had no idea until I got the call, and he was like, hey, I'm about to go into surgery. And I was like, what do you mean you're about to go into surgery? So like my whole world came crashing down because he had colon cancer. He got diagnosed with that the day the world shut down from COVID. So, and we were on different islands, so I couldn't be with him throughout that entire process. And then to find this out, that he could basically go at any moment, like I said, my whole world came crashing down. Our friends invited us. Brandon was like, do you want to go? We don't have to go. And I was like, no, I think we should go. So we went, and then 2 weeks after the first time we'd gone to SMCC was when we went back to Hawaii to go be with my dad, and he later passed that month. And then coming back to Utah after all of that, what got me through my grief and all that was SMCC and finding my community.
Yeah, wow. I remember watching this TV show at one point. One of the episodes was talking about a character. The storyline in the episode was that her father actually passed away. And I haven't experienced that directly. But the storyline, one of the things she said is like, I don't know how to exist in a world where my father doesn't. That kind of loss is something that, at a certain point, pretty much all of us like experience. But it's such a difficult thing. And I feel like what's interesting is how faith, in a way, like God's love, God's pursuit of us is something that I feel like the further you get in life, the more you look back and you can see that it was always there. But it becomes a lot of times the most visible to us in those seasons of grief and loss.
Yeah, definitely. And during that time that he was in the hospital, like I found myself praying more than I ever have before. I was watching back the sermons on YouTube because, we didn't have time to go to church when we were there. So I was like looking up things here, and so it definitely got me through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I know that you mentioned like one of the things that really helped you was like tending to your own relationship with God, but also like the community, that you had like a strong sense of like friends and everyone in the midst of that. How did that like come about? How did you?
Yeah. So when we were going to Draper, if you've ever been to the Draper campus, it's huge. So it's very easy to just come and go, and that's what we did. And then when we moved here we moved to American Fork, started coming here. We were like, okay, let's check out the first service, kind of see what it's like. Let's check out the second service. And I told my husband, I was like, come and go.
Yeah.
Come and go. That's not possible here. By the third week, we were stopped. Eric followed me on Instagram. The pastor at the time invited us over for dinner. His wife invited us to lunch. Turns out they all went to the same church Brandon went to growing up. So it was a lot of fun. And then I ended up taking an SMCCU class. It was the Intro to Christianity. That was right around the time we'd been coming here for a while. We started finding our community. We joined a small group. I was feeling like, okay, I think I want to get baptized, but I didn't feel like I was worthy of getting baptized because I was such a new Christian and I didn't know a ton. So the pastor at the time said, okay, well, take this class, and then, we'll follow up at the end of the class. I'm teaching the class, so it'd be awesome. I talked to my husband. I said, I know you grew up going to church, but will you take this class with me? He took it with me. We walked in the first week. He was not teaching the class. It was actually Trent who taught the class, and that was the start of our whole friendship. And but in that class, it was up in, well, it's not the fusion room anymore. It's one of the rooms upstairs, and I remember sitting around the table, and across from me was Catherine and Brian. To the left of me was Jacob and Amber. And then, like I said, that class was the start of our community. So we ended up joining a small group. We started leading for Fusion, and then after that, we went into high school and middle school ministry. And
so there's a lot of different things that you guys have said yes to.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And for those of you who don't know, May serves on she leads our worship and production team. She's part of our staff team here, does an incredible job with it. And Trent is her husband. He's the one who taught the class. He's currently running sound. He's the reason why you can hear us talking right now. And then, was it TC and Cody?
Okay.
It
was TC and Cody.
TC used to be the campus pastor here. He's at a church in Indiana now and is doing wonderful. And Cody's his wife. And they were awesome. They are awesome.
A funny story, though. The first time that they had invited us to lunch, we were actually in the drive-thru of Panda Express. And I get the call from Cody, and I'm like, why is Cody calling me? So I answer, and she's like, hey, a bunch of us are going to In-N-Out. So I'm looking at my bag of Panda Express that I just got, and I looked at my husband, I said, I think we should go. And he was like, you just got food. Well, this can be dinner. I think we should go. And then at that lunch, we met Danielle and Barrett, John and Ashley, and all of them have become like our circle of people.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So you said yes to a table at In-N-Out.
I did, at In-N-Out, yes.
That's great. Oh, man. Well, that's wonderful. So I know one of the other things that we've talked about in your story is that for you and Brandon, infertility played a significant role in your story. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yes, so we struggled with infertility for 2.5 years. And it was right around the same time that my dad passed away that I started feeling like something was wrong with my body. Didn't really think much of it. And at the time, we didn't really have anybody that we knew that had gone through the same thing. So we started sharing our journey online, actually, which is so weird now that I think about it. But I was so nervous. I'm still nervous now, but I can like post a video on social media and think nothing of it. And that goes out to the world, but now I'm all looking at you guys and I'm like shaking. But and what helped us really get through our infertility was being more open about it to our close people, so to our friends. And the first time I had ever spoke about it to somebody like in person, not on social media, was at our first small group. And I remember we were sitting in Paul and Liz's house, and at the end of it, they had asked, like, does somebody have prayer requests? And I said, yeah, can you pray for me and Brandon, because we've been trying and nothing's working. And as weird as that sounds to like ask somebody to pray that you'll have a baby, but that helped us get through it, because then we were able to share with them all of our treatments and having that support system going through that time. Like, unless you've really been through it, it's difficult, it's tough. But knowing that you have people to rely on and even distract you too, like when we were going through our treatments, we were going to the doctors every single week, sometimes twice a week. And having some distraction sometimes, like, it really helped us through. And I feel like from what I understand, from what I've heard of that journey, like everyone's story, like through or in infertility is different, and it doesn't always work out the same for everyone. But there's like so many highs and so many lows in the midst of it, and to be able to have people in the midst of that to support you is a huge thing. The other piece of that stands out, though, is that like you had said yes to being a part of the group. Like you went to In-N-Out, you're part of the group, so you've got these relationships. But even in that context, I feel like it's easy for so many of us. Like for me, example, I have more relationships than I know what to do with most of the time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone I'm in relationship with knows the things that are happening inside. And that could have been true for you guys, but you made the choice to not just be a part of the group, to not just be a part of these relationships, but to open up and say, this is something significant that we're going through. Can you be with us in it, essentially? And I don't think we would have been able to get through that without our people.
And I feel like, one piece of that is they were able to be with you in the lows, but also there's the opportunity to be with you in the joys too. And so, yeah, the story, it works out differently for everyone, but for you guys, you have like one of the most adorable kids I've ever seen. So we got a picture of Brixton here. There he is. It's like cuteness personified. So I have
he's
that
so
same
cute.
penguin suit.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's such a cute kid. And so, yeah, when your group was able to be with you in all of the lows, I feel like it just adds a richness to the highs to be able to celebrate all of that together and to really know what he means to you all.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And seeing also the way our community loves him. I mean, me and Brandon, we have my sister here, but we have no other family here. But knowing that he has people around him that already love him so much, like just as much as we do, it's incredible for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's true for so many people that here at SMCC, I feel like we have kind of two different almost like broadly speaking situations that people are in. Like on the one hand, it's people who have moved here from somewhere else. And so one of the most significant needs you have is for relationships, right? And that's like my wife and I, we moved here with our kids from Chicago. And so, yeah, that is going to be a need. Sometimes you don't even realize how much of a need that is until you're in the midst of it. And then other people, maybe are from Utah, but through whatever decisions or circumstances of their life have happened, sometimes there's that support and everything from the family, but sometimes that isn't there, or it just looks a little bit different because of the circumstances. So I feel like that need for relationships, that need for community is something that we all have, and it's such a gift, I feel like, to be able to find that here.
Yeah, definitely.
But I know with your story also, I feel like what's true so often is that there are good things that happen in life, things that are gifts, things that we celebrate, and even answers to prayer, right? But so often what also comes with those things that we celebrate and are overjoyed about is they can be accompanied also by difficulty that sometimes we saw coming, sometimes we didn't see coming. And so like in the case of your guys' story, the gift of Brixton is an incredible gift, right? But at the same time, navigating marriage while entering into parenting is not an easy season. So what was that like for you guys?
Yeah, it was difficult. And I think too, like leading up to parenthood, there was just so much like, okay, it was infertility.
Yeah.
And then finally we got pregnant. And then I had a high risk pregnancy. And I was like, okay, great. And then Brixton was born, and then he was in the NICU. And then he got out, and it was amazing. My mom was here for a little bit, and that helped us out a ton because we went through having a newborn. We moved at the same time. And then she was finally like, hey, okay, I got to go back home. And I was wrecked. I was so wrecked when she left. But I didn't realize how lonely postpartum is. And I have a hard time like asking for help. So it was weighing on me, and I just felt so angry at myself because I've wanted this for so long, but why am I not happy? And what is going on with my body? I have no idea what, like I was just in this weird phase where everything was just wrong. It started affecting the way I parent. It started affecting my marriage. And during that same time, we had a women's worship night at Draper. Yeah. And my husband pushed me to go. He was like, you should go. And I was like, no, I don't want to go. And he's like, you should go. And then I don't know how in the mix of things, but I ended up offering a ride or somehow said I was going to give Ashley a ride. And I think it was Catherine too. And I think it was like an hour before. I was like, I'm not going to go. And then he was like, but you're giving people rides, so you kind of have to go. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. So I went, and this was the first time that I had left Brixton at home with just him and Brandon. And towards the end of the worship night, they did a part where they said, if you need anybody to pray for you, there's a group of people up here who can pray for you. And I wasn't going to go up, but I saw Carla, and I went up, and I asked for her to pray for my marriage because at that point, I was ready to just drop everything and leave. And she prayed over my marriage. And right after that, we started the marriage series. And from then on, our marriage has been stronger, but we're also able to be better parents. And we've also switched over to now where like our marriage is so rooted in our faith. Like we do devotionals and Bible study, and we lead together, and we do all these things together. And just like, yeah.
I so appreciate just your openness and your vulnerability around that. And I feel like one of the interesting things about it is, like in that season of like feeling so kind of like frustrated, and even frustrated with yourself for being frustrated, and feeling so alone and so isolated within it all. I feel like a lot of us end up going through seasons like that, and I feel like what's really powerful about your story is that worship night and all the different pieces of it, of like, you know, giving, like you've already committed to a ride with Catherine and Ashley, and Brandon's like, no, I got this, I got Brixton, you should go have a good time. And then you see Carla there, and all the work that went into just hosting the worship night, all of that, that all of that happened so that in that moment it was almost like God communicating to you, like, I see you and I'm with you and you're not alone in any of this. And like, I love you and I'm there for you, and also all of these other people are here with you as well.
Yeah, and that was definitely the first time after postpartum that I realized, like, you have a community of people who love you and are here for you, and they want to be here for you.
Yeah.
So.
That's beautiful. And I think the thing I would say is, like, if there's anyone here, like if you've ever felt that, like you're in a season where you're feeling alone, feeling isolated, that I think in the very same way, like God's with you, sees you, is for you, and like his love is present with you in the midst of whatever it is that you're going through. And I think it's beautiful in your story, the way that you can see God's orchestration of things to communicate that to you in a way that was so healing and so, I guess, life-giving. Yeah, for sure. All right. Okay, I think maybe one final question.
Okay.
Or is there more you want to say about anything?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No?
All right. Well, okay, one question I want to be sure to ask then is just like the phrase "in the valley for the valley." When you hear that phrase, what does that mean for you?
Yes. So I see a lot of similarities to where we grew up, so on Maui and here, in terms of how small it is, but and how much of an impact you can have. And being the person to other people that were there for us when we had just found our community. You know, so in everything that we do, we always, you know, share the gospel, be disciples of Christ, and you never know the impact that you're going to have on somebody. In between this first and second service, I had never told Trent the impact that he had on me, and knowing that we could also be that for somebody else. Just like this whole series is, you know, saying yes and inviting people to your table. So, yeah,
absolutely. All right, that's wonderful. Well, yeah, thank you so much just for sharing your heart, your story, your openness, all of it. I so appreciate it. And if we could give a hand for Princess. All right. Well, I actually want to invite some of the band members back on up. We're gonna have the chance to close out our time together today just by doing something I think really special, especially in light of today's conversation and in the series that we're getting into. We're going to do something called communion that followers of Jesus have been doing for thousands of years. It's actually a practice that was instituted by Jesus himself. And in sort of the earliest days of the church, they would actually do this in the context of a meal that they would have together, enjoy together as a community. But there were always at least two elements included within that meal, which were the bread, which represented Jesus' body, and then the wine, which represented his blood, both of which were offered for us. And in the context of that meal, the community would receive these elements in a way that reminded them that really the thing that brings us together, the thing that anchors us together, the only reason that we're in community to begin with is because Jesus was willing to offer his body in his blood for us on the cross. That's where our forgiveness is found. That's where our redemption is found. That's why we are together. And in the same vein, the chance to enjoy this meal together is in some ways a way that we anticipate what we look forward to in eternity. As we'll have the opportunity to enjoy not only our own company with each other, but to enjoy the presence of our God forever. All because he was willing to give his body and his blood for us. And so if you're new with us, I just want to extend the invitation. You're more than welcome to participate and just consider what this does mean for you. If you're more comfortable just kind of hanging out in your seat and reflecting, that's all good too. Just whatever works best on your end. But I'm going to pray, and then I want to invite you all to come forward. And we've got a little bit of a different setup today. You can grab a piece of bread and dunk just the bottom portion of it into the juice and then receive the elements. If you prefer the little cups, we got those two on the side. But let me pray, and then I'll invite you all forward. Jesus, we give you praise as the one who set the table for us and who went to such lengths in order to do so, that you stepped into our human existence. You lived the perfect life that we never could. You offered yourself on the cross and then rose from the grave in victory. And it's only because of all of this that through all of the highs and through all of the lows of life, we can know with conviction, we can know with certainty that you are with us and you are for us through it all. And we also give you praise that you haven't left us alone in this life, but that continually you extend the invitation for us to be part of a community, to be part of these relationships where we can know and be known, where we can support and be supported, we can encourage and be encouraged, we can challenge and be challenged, and we can grow as people and grow in our relationship with you through all of that together. And we thank you that the table you have set for us is a reminder of all of that, but a reminder most of all that it was your sacrifice that brought about our life. And so for all of this, we thank you and we praise you together today. In your name, amen. You're invited to come forward and receive the elements when you're ready.